Hey, welcome to Flight Test. I'm Josh.
And I'm Peter.
And we're in the middle of a real crummy winter, aren't we?
Yep, it's pretty terrible. At least it's not very wintry, but it's very windy and rainy outside.
Yep, and if you fly foam board airplanes especially, it's not a good climate for it. But that doesn't mean that you can't connect with friends, hone your skills, or even get into the hobby during the season, does it?
Yep. So flight simulators have actually been around for a while. This is actually 7.5, which is Real Flight's latest version of this.
The physics of the aircraft have gotten better. The graphics have gotten a little bit better. It's not probably...
It's still about the same. If you're buying this game, you're probably not really a gamer when you buy this.
Yeah.
The graphics are pleasing enough where it's really more of a tool to fly and just kind of have fun with your friends.
In 7.5 and the newer versions, and for flight simulators in general, they've added a lot of online interaction, which is really good because we're all about interaction. Say you're, Peter and I, and we want to go ahead and play against each other. Flight simulators now have games where you can compete, you can do streamer cuts, they even have rockets and missiles and obstacle courses and races that you can all go in together and have. There are some key benefits to that, and mostly it comes back to when you're training younger kids. When I got my kids into the hobby, one thing was apparent. They got on the simulator, and after about 5 minutes of trying to learn to fly, they then went to the competition of who can crash in the most epic way. Nowadays with these games, it takes their attention off of trying to see how big they can crash or how hard they can go, but it gives them a challenge.
It's kind of like just like any other skill when you play. It's best to have lots of failures than have just a smooth little bit of success. When you fail and then you learn from it real quick, that's when you can advance quicker. And that seems like one of the features they put in this thing, like the rewind button. Yeah,
the rewind button's really cool. Why don't you tell us about that?
Sure. Well, basically, when you crash, there's also a red reset button. You press and the aircraft respawns back on the runway. But if you press and hold that, the aircraft actually just rewinds from the crash point, and as soon as you let go, you can take over. So let's say if you're trying to shoot through a hoop or through a gap, if you crash into the ring, you can just press and hold, you'll rewind out of the hole, and then you can restart whenever you want.
Flying in a simulator never replaces flying in real life. One thing that's really nice about simulators though is I never knew how to fly helis before. And rather than investing hundreds and hundreds of dollars into buying a heli and crashing it and potentially hurting myself, I was able to sit down on a computer and go ahead and practice over and over. And it was actually Real Flight 3.5.
The same thing, that's what I learned. That's how I first learned to kind of barely control a helicopter upside down. I'm still no good at it, but at least I can get upside down and then get back upright and then upside down again without totally smashing the bits.
And it really comes down to muscle memory. That's the biggest thing, is when your eyes are telling your thumbs what to do and eventually your brain checks out, that's when the muscle memory really becomes a really important part of flying the airplane. So now Real Flight 7.5 has a couple new things. They have multi-rotors. And frankly, I wish they had more, but there's a solution to that, which I think is pretty cool, and that is the swap pages on knifeedge.com. And we're gonna have links for you down below here. This gives people the ability to download planes that other community members have made and actually upload it for free. And they can change their colors, they can change their skins, they can change their features. And you like modifying their performance, don't you?
Yeah, so let's say you have like a yak or something in real life, and you have the simulator model too, and it's almost exactly the same, but you want to see what happens if the center of gravity was further forward or further backwards. You can actually change the parameters in this game and move those things around. Or you can add extra engines and rockets and guns and all that stuff too.
We just released a plane called the FT Arrow, FT Mini Arrow. And we flew the little slinger on there, but it was actually very slow. But the response to the controls, everything felt very similar. I was able to go in and change the power setting from 100% all the way up to 400%, and then give us a little bit more control authority on the ailerons, and it dialed it in perfectly. The beautiful thing about that is once you get your calibrations right where it flies like that, you can then push the limits and really get that muscle memory tuned into your machine. So I guess whether you're a newbie or whether you're experienced, the flight simulator, especially if you're in your hobby, is always a really good tool. It can save you a lot of money and a lot of stress, and also keep your skills very sharp.
Especially if you have friends that are like, oh, let me try in real life, I want to fly this thing. Simulator, go now.
And no matter what age, if you're getting people into the hobby, it's always helpful to have a simulator handy. When we go out and do group settings, we'll oftentimes have a simulator station set up for people while they're waiting to learn to fly. They can actually take a whack at that, use that reset button, and train their mind and their eyes and their fingers on what they need to do for when they get the real experience. And if you're working with younger kids, I strongly recommend setting them up with games, so that way it takes them from wanting to have an epic crash to trying to take on challenges and meet them. All right, friends, we want to thank you for watching. We're starting to carry Real Flight 7.5 in our stores, but there's a lot of other great locations. Check out the free swap pages. There's a lot of FT designs, and we're really hoping more come in, and maybe even a photo field of Flight Fest. What do you think?
That would be cool.
Cool. If any of you guys have resources for that or know how to do that, contact us and let us know. We'd love to work with you. All right, we'll see you next time.